When G5 water coolers go bad, they really go bad. Hello there, everyone. This is the Wayback Tech, and I'm in the middle of doing some work on a couple of the Powermac G5s, mainly focusing on the quad core system, but I took the other system apart because I'm going to have to snag the pump off of this. This is the dual 2.5 system, and as you can see, I've got both of the processors off, and you can see that the water blocks have leaked very badly. And this is a very common problem with these early water coolers, is that they've got an O-ring in there and the O-ring leaks, goes bad, and then you get this kind of problem. But that's not the worst one. We get up here, take a look at all that greenage right there, quite nasty. But come down to the other processor and take a look at that. I do believe that's why I was having so many problems with this particular system. I'm surprised it was able to actually install Tiger, but I'm pretty sure this is why I wasn't able to install Linux on it. You can see that the water, the corrosion there, has actually been kind enough to encapsulate some of the capacitors that once lived on the G5 processor board here, and you can see there the ones that are all missing. You can see more of that crap right there. So yeah, I think for this particular system, the 2.5, I'm going to order heat sinks for this, and I'm going to see if I can fix this now. Hopefully, with a little bit of luck, if I don't lose these capacitors in the process, maybe I'll be able to just resolder these back onto the CPU board right here. But if those pads are too far gone, then I'm not going to be able to get any solder on those. I'll just have to see, but that's for a later project. You can see the G5 processor there nestled in the middle of the card, and you got this heat sink here with the heat pipe going down to cool these chokes. And in here got some other capacitors. I think these are maybe voltage regulators right here. But yeah, when these things go bad, they go bad in a very wicked way. Let me tell you what. That is just a horror show. So this thing's going to have to be drained and flushed. Those O-rings are going to have to be replaced. And I don't know. I might do that, but I need to snag the pump off of this guy. It's the same pump. As you can see, I've got this pump tore completely apart because, come over here, and yes, I will show this on camera. I was flushing this one out, and this does have cooling issues. It has flow issues, to be precise. That's why it's locking up. But I got this thing flushed out pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's clear now. I've got it filled up, but when I was washing this whole assembly, I didn't realize that these wires that go into the back of the housing right here are not entirely sealed. So water got into that motor and was kind enough to fry that chip right there, which I'm guessing is a voltage regulator. And so this one no longer spins. You can see the burn mark right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other pump apart, and I'm going to unsolder the wires from that one and solder them onto these wires here. It is the same pump, so it'll just go on here, and hopefully I can get that one working. Right now I'm focusing on the main processor side. Once I can get this thing addressed, because the system does run without the second processor, it runs with just one in it. So if I can get the freezing problem addressed by fixing this water cooler, and I'm pretty sure that I'm fairly close to that, getting that fixed, then I'm going to turn my attention to this side, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I've got a T-fitting that I installed right here so I could fill the system up. So I'm going to have to do the same thing to this side as well. This side hasn't been touched yet, but I do hear gurgling in this side when the pump turns on, and so I know it's not circulating very good. And the fluid that's in this stuff, it smells like antifreeze actually. It's kind of got a pinkish tint to it. But I noticed that when this thing has air in it, at least when I was messing with this side anyway, when it gets air in it, it aerates that fluid and then it doesn't flow. So I know that's the whole problem with this thing, is that it's just not flowing very good. I did get the rad unit cleaned out there, and I got the whole thing cleaned up. But that's where I'm at right now. That's one of the dual G5s, I guess it would be at this point, since this doesn't have the second one on it. You can see the water block right here, this tiny little water block. I suspected that the clog was in here somewhere. I tried to take this apart, not all that, vigorously, but I just tried to see if maybe it would come apart. This thing looks like it's completely sealed, even though it's two pieces, it looks like it's glued together. These do have a little bit of staining on them, on both of them, and I did clean it up. But what I'm going to do once I get this thing all fixed up is I'm going to run some epoxy around this, and that should seal that up. But what I did is this line right here runs into the water block, this one right here, that pipe. So I took the compressor and stuck it in there and blew it out, and of course I had a cup to catch all the fluid and a hose coming out of this thing, so I blew it out pretty good, and then I gravity fed some fluid into it, some hot water through it for a while to flush it out, and it seems like it was flowing pretty good. But then of course the pump itself decided to start smoking when I plugged it back in, all because it got water into it. So this one didn't have that problem. I don't know why, but I thought these wires would have been sealed up on here with some glue. They put glue on every other part of this pump, including gluing the actual motor. Let me see if I can find it here. There's a, yeah, here it is. Here's the upper base of it there. So they actually glued the magnet and circuit board into there. So that's what that looks like. If you ever wonder what one of these pumps looks like, tore apart. And this is the actual impeller right here, and it's the magnet. You can see the impeller is just fine. It's not loose. So, and he fits right into there, and it just spins. So that's your bearing right there. And these things are not supposed to be spun dry. You are supposed to have water in them because it's a fluid bearing. So if it gets water in there, it's going to, because I think it's just plastic. It looks plastic to me. It could be ceramic, but I think it's plastic. But it'll just fry that little bearing right there if it doesn't have any water lubrication. So yeah, that's what we've got right now. As a last resort, I might get heat sinks for that one. However, the heat sinks that I need, these heat sinks don't all match. The mounting points don't all match. So the cheaper ones that are available on eBay are of this style G5, the early G5. The latter one is that big massive one that I've got right there, and that would work, except for I've got one of the 2.5s on there right now. This was a test, and it does not freeze up when I have this on there, so I know that's the problem. But you've got this side cooler right here that sticks out off of there, and yeah, that won't work with the dual G5s in there. The dual quad G5, because it hangs out too much, and I think the heatsink might be too big on the one side as well. I'm not sure yet. I haven't tried to see if two of these massive heatsinks will fit in there. I kind of don't think it will. I'm not sure about that. So I'm kind of stuck on trying to get the water cooler going here. And yeah, so even if the other heat sinks did fit, the problem is that these little heat sinks right here, these coolers, are actually glued to the, well, I guess they're screwed in right there, two of them, but the mount's completely different on these. It's a completely different mounting setup from this guy right here. And the screw holes don't even line up. Not to mention, these early G5s, they don't have the ends coming off of them to screw the power cable into. So yeah, that's really nasty. I mean, there you go, nice close-up shot of that. quite nasty. But somehow it was still working, at least good enough to install Tiger, which is more than I could say for the quad system. So anyway, hopefully I'll be able to clean this guy up, resolder these on here. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but hopefully, because I don't know. Yeah, I think there might be some of these processor cards on eBay, actually, the 2.5s. But yeah, what a mess. Ladies and gentlemen, good news. The Quad G5 is up and running, more or less. Proof of concept here kind of thing going on. I've got one processor in it right now, not running both. And so far, I've managed to get it booted up onto the Tiger disk, and I'm running a check on the hard drive because it still will not boot up from that hard drive. So could be a memory issue, but so far I haven't had a problem with this. I do know that, not those sticks, but one of the 2 GB sticks, maybe 2 of them actually, I'm not sure, is bad. So I'm going to have to test all this RAM, but right now I'm concentrating on the cooling system. And proof of concept is I was able to get this thing working properly again. As I showed at the beginning of this video, I had to replace this pump, and that worked out fine. Got a makeshift clamped on it right now, and that did get some air into the system, and this thing has to be damn near air free for it to flow. But I do have it flowing pretty good here, even though it got a little bit of air in it. It's still flowing just fine. The radiator is actually divided here. They've actually got a split in the tank on the top and the bottom, so this side is pretty much cold. Well, it's warm because the pump is warming it up a little bit. But this side is hot, and it's about the same temperature as the tube coming from the processor there. Actually, it's a little bit hotter than the tube coming from the processor, which is good. Because before, this thing, well, especially this side, was just burning up right here and nothing was happening. So there's definitely a restriction in flow. So now that I've got this thing working, and I've actually had it up now for a good half hour or so, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to have to drain this side, put my T-fitting in there, and bleed it out properly, and start epoxying up those water blocks down there. I've got to pick up some better clamps. I bought some clamps. I bought some of these clamps, and they're too small. It said up to 1/2 inch, but I guess that was inside diameter, not outside diameter, because it won't fit over these 5/16. This one's actually a 11/32 hose right here, which actually works perfectly on these. I mean, I'm not running a clamp on either end of these, and it's been perfectly fine. This is the original one, and it's been having some issues sealing up around here. But anyway, I gotta get some more clamps. I had these 2 laying around, so I put those around the T-fitting here. I did have to cut that T-fitting down in order to fit in between the nipples right here. So these are actually tightened down pretty tight to get them to seal, but it's working. So this one's going to have to be turned this way, which it has plenty of room to clear. And this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm probably going to put it, and I'm going to have to put it right here probably, actually. I don't know, I might not even need, yeah, I need to do that because I need to bleed it. Unfortunately, this is going to get in the way, so I'm going to have to turn it downwards, I think. That's what I'm going to have to do, because it's not going to clear this bracket right here, which I still don't have screwed together yet because I'm still working on all this. But so far, everything is looking pretty good here for this system. Unlike the dual the dual 2.5 system. But yeah, so far everything's going pretty good here. And we got an error on the, couldn't be repaired because of an error. Yeah, I hate disk utility because it doesn't actually ever fix anything. Well, I'll probably just have to reinstall it. Looks like there's only about 90 gig used on that hard drive right now. It is a 250 gig drive. So I probably could do pretty good with a 500 gig. It'd be a nice size for it. And the this pump was pretty noisy until I got all the air out of the system, and now it's perfectly quiet. So yeah, just so you know that when these things are noisy and rattly, they're low on water. So thanks very much for watching this update. It is damn near 1 o'clock on a Friday night, but so far it's working out pretty good.